Hello, everyone, and welcome to Week 8. Listening Exam 1 is upon us. You don't seem to be cheering. Anyway, this video is going to be a combined review for music appreciation and jazz, pop, and rock. Both classes will need the opening material, but then you are welcome to hop to the time codes shown on screen. Without further ado, let's dive into the music theory concepts we will be responsible for this first exam. First, you should recognize this. This is the musical staff, the base upon which notes are written for all music with a written tradition in our modern age. When notes need to be written above or below the confines of the 5 lines and 4 spaces of the staff, a ledger line is utilized. These operate the same way as the lines and spaces above, and as you add ledger lines above the staff, you continue moving forward through the alphabet, A through G before resetting at A. As you add ledger lines below the staff, you continue moving backward from G to A before resetting at G. Music is all patterns, and staffs and ledger lines are no different. On top of the staff, several things are placed. First of which are these symbols, called clefs. The clef indicates the range you should be playing in when reading. The treble clef, known as the G clef, indicates higher pitches, the notes of which being above middle C on the piano. The notes on the lines of the treble clef are E, G, B, D, F, or every good burger deserves fries. The notes on the spaces of the treble clef are F, A, C, E, spelling the word bass. The bass clef, also known as the F clef, indicates lower pitches, with all of them being below middle C on the piano, without ledger lines. The notes on the lines of the bass clef are G, B, D, F, A, or good burritos don't fall apart. The spaces are A, C, E, G, or all cows eat grass. There are a number of symbols placed next to notes that will alter the pitch, known collectively as accidentals. The presence of an accidental means you must include it in the name. This is a flat. A flat lowers a pitch by half step. So if we start here with an A natural and place a flat next to it, it then becomes an A flat, which sounds 1/2 step lower than the A. This is a sharp, which raises a pitch by half step. If we begin with F sharp and place a second sharp next to it, it becomes an F double sharp and looks like this. This means you would start at the key F and go up 2 half steps to play the F double sharp. The final accidental is trickier and is known as a natural. A natural returns the pitch to its original name. So, if we are starting with an A flat, a natural sign raises the pitch 1/2 step to A natural. Likewise, if we start with an A sharp, a natural lowers the pitch by 1/2 step, also to A natural. We move now to the division of rhythmic notation and how those changes are shown. The basis for modern music rhythmic notation is the quarter note, getting 1 beat each. This here is a whole note, which is held for 4 beats. 2 half notes fit into a whole note, each getting 2 beats. 4 quarter notes fit into a whole note, each getting 1 beat. 2 eighth notes fit into 1 quarter note, counting for half a beat, and 4 16th notes fit into a quarter note, getting a fourth of a beat. If you struggle conceptualizing this, consider how each note fills a measure in common time or 4/4 time. A whole note takes the whole measure, a half the half, quarter fills a quarter of the measure, an eighth note requires 8 to fill the entire measure, and 16 16th notes. The purpose of the flag on a note stem is to cut each note in half. As we start with a quarter note and add 1 flag, we get an eighth note, 2 flags, a 16th note, etc. The purpose of a dot is again to alter the rhythmic duration. A dot, when placed to the side of the note head, adds half of the original value. Meter is defined as the organization of rhythm and beats into measures. There are several different ways to categorize meter, but for now, let's look at duple, triple, and quadruple. These classifications take the large beat, or macro beat, and divide them into 2, 3, and 4 respectively. There is only one possible question that will ask you to include quadruple as a possibility. There is an easy way to discern the difference between the 4 main types of meter and how they are organized. There are only 4 combinations I will make you responsible for knowing: simple duple, compound duple, simple triple, and compound triple. We already know that duple divides the macro beat into 2, and the triple divides it into groups of 3. The trick is what groupings those divide into for determining simple versus compound. For simple, the macro beat groupings divide evenly into 2 microbeat parts. This will most likely be a quarter note or eighth note division in the macro beat. Let's take a look at 2/4 for an example of the simple duple. We divide first into 2 equal groups of 1 quarter note each. Those quarter notes divide equally into 2 eighth notes, which means we are in a simple duple meter. For an example of compound duple, let's look at 6/8. 6/8 time again divides into 2 big beats, but each beat here is a dotted quarter note. The dotted quarter divides evenly into 3 parts, thus making it compound. For simple triple and compound triple, the same method applies. First divide the big beats, then divide those beats evenly. In 3/2 time, for example, we divide the measure into 3 groups of half notes. Those half notes divide into 2 equal parts, so this is a simple triple. In 9/8 time, we again have a group of 3 large beats. Those beats are all dotted quarters, which divide equally into 3 eighth notes. The last large section will be key signatures. The purpose of key signatures is to tell players which notes to play in the scales being used by the composer. There are a few ways to discern key signatures for major keys. You can either do them the more musically inclined route or the more mathematically inclined. I'll start with the music route. So, for a staff looking like this, with no flats or sharps, we are in C major. To discern all other key signatures, follow these steps. First, go all the way to the right in the key signature, so you are looking for the rightmost symbol in that key signature. Here we have 4 symbols, so we go to this one here. Way to go! 1 step down. Step 2. Identify what type of symbol you are dealing with. Is this sharps or flats? Here we have sharps. Step 3 gets a little tricky, but it is the same based on which symbol you identified in step 2 for all instances. For sharps, go up to the very next line or space from that rightmost symbol, or up 1/2 step. Here, our last sharp is on D sharp, so we go to the next line, or in this case, a space, and write a note head on this space. The 4th and final step is we look back in the key signature to see if any accidentals fall on the note head's line or space. Be careful, as when there are several sharps or flats, it may be on a lower or higher note of the same name on the staff. For instance, in the treble clef, there are both 2 E's on the staff or 2 F's on the staff, so you need to check both for the accidental. If there is a sharp or flat on that note, you must include that in your key name. If not, then just include the name of the note that you drew. Here, there is no sharp on E, so we have deduced this is E major. Done. Simple as that. For flats, follow the same steps 1 through 3. So we go all the way to the right, we determine these are flat symbols that we're looking at, and now is where we get a little bit tricky. For all key signatures with more than 1 flat, find the second to last flat. If there is only 1 flat, best to just memorize that one as F major. In this case, with 5 flats, that is here. Draw your notehead. Now the same last step occurs. We look in the key signature to see if there is an accidental on that minor space. If there is, like in this instance, we must include the flat in our key name. So this isn't D major, it is D flat major. Once you have found the major key signature, from your notehead, go down 2 lines or spaces, counting each individually, so 1, 2, from where you are to determine the minor key. So here we are in D flat major, so we go down 1, 2, and land on B. Now we follow that final step again, and we check the key signature, and there is indeed a flat there. So this key signature is both D flat major and B flat minor. Okay, now onto the mathematical approach. If you feel confident with the first method, you may not need this one, but for those that struggle with reading music at all, this may prove to be a faster strategy. The first thing you need to do is memorize the following numbers as they correlate to major key signatures. C major is 0, indicating 0 sharps and 0 flats. For each sharp used, we will add 1 numeric value, and for each flat, we will subtract 1. C major is 0, D major is 2, indicating 2 sharps, E major is 4, F major is -1, meaning there is 1 flat in the key signature. G major is 1, A major is 3, and B major is 5. The highest possible value for practical purposes will be 7 or -7, meaning that there will only be actual key signatures used by composers up to 7 sharps or flats. Other key signatures can exist following this method, though in practicality terms, the composer would use the inharmonic key signature for actual writing, as they would require double sharps or double flats, which are a pain to read otherwise. So, to find out what major key signatures with sharps or flats in the names exist from our 7 that we have already listed, we will do just some simple math. If we want a sharp key name, we add 7. If we want a flat key name, we will subtract 7. Let's look at a few examples. If I want you to find C sharp major, you will start with our value of 0 for C major and add 7. 0 plus 7 equals 7, so there are 7 sharps in C sharp major's key signature. If I were to ask you to find G flat major, you'll start with a numeric value of 1 for G and then subtract 7. 1 minus 7 equals -6, so there are 6 flats in the key signature. For finding minor keys, you will first find the major key signature this way, and then subtract 3 numeric values from whatever answer you got. So let's look at B flat minor. You start with B major, which has a numeric value of 5, and subtract 7. 5 minus 7 equals -2 for B flat major, indicating 2 flats. Now subtract 3 more to find B flat minor. -2 minus 3 equals -5. The B flat major has 5 flats in it. Okay, I know that was a lot, but now we are jumping into the course-specific content. For those in music appreciation, no need to scrub through the video. For those in JPR, your time code is right here. Alright, I'm going to blaze through these questions one by one, so be forewarned that I am going to be moving pretty quickly. Feel free to pause or rewind as much as you need. The term Baroque was translated from a French word meaning misshapen pearl and was originally used to mock the ornamented style. The two titans of composition in the Baroque period were George Friedrich Handel and Johann Sebastian Bach. Most of the music that is studied from the Baroque period comes from the late Baroque. Johann Sebastian Bach's death in 1750 marks the end of the Baroque era. Opera was created in the Baroque era. The ruling principle of mood in the Baroque era was known as the doctrine of affections. The Baroque Baroque period used an instrumental model melody with long and difficult to remember phrases. Dynamics changed in the Baroque period through the use of terrace dynamics, which was achieved by adding or removing voices performing at the same time. The name of the trio of virtuosic female singers was Delle Donne from the Renaissance. The ruler that championed Enlightenment teachings during the classical era was King Joseph II of Austria. The artistic style equivalent to style galant or gallant style was Rococo. The orchestra was standardized during the classical period. Starting in the classical period and used ever since, composers used the specific timbres and strengths of each instrument. The largest source of inspiration during the Romantic period was nature. The unprecedented emphasis on self-expression in the Romantic era was known as individuality of style. The descriptive inspirations behind instrumental music in the Romantic era were detailed in a program and were called program music. The term to describe the use of notes not normally found in the prevailing scale was chromatic harmony. The ebb and flow of tempo is known as rubato. The ideals of the French Revolution were equality, liberty, and fraternity. And now on to composer-specific questions. There are several things that are significant about Bernstein's Mass, but most notable was that he was a Jewish man that composed a Catholic Mass. Leonard Bernstein directed for the New York Philharmonic Orchestra from 1943 until just before his death in 1990. Handel was born in Germany, but had the largest impact in England. Handel is best known for his opera and oratorio writing. Handel's opera that was performed for 100 years in London following its premiere was The Beggar's Opera. Fanny Hensel was Felix Mendelssohn's sibling, having some of her compositions published under his own name. Lili Boulanger and Mel Bonis both studied at the Paris Conservatoire. Mélanie Bonis changed her name to sound more masculine. Lili Boulanger was the first woman to ever win the Prix de Rome. The Roman Catholic Church prevented women from participating in music from the medieval era through the Romantic. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's father was a renowned violinist and composer in the classical era. Mozart's compositions are referred to by their K number due to the contributions of Ludwig von Kirche. Franz Xaver Süssmayr is responsible for completing Mozart's Requiem. The name of the letter Beethoven wrote to his brother is the Heiligenstadt Testament. Beethoven never held a court position and instead relied on the middle class to make money from compositions. Richard Wagner never studied music formally, teaching himself to compose by studying scores, and he never attempted to master an instrument himself. Wagner is best known for writing opera. The term used to describe the Wagnerian combination of all aspects of art is Gesamtkunstwerk. The specific musical ideas for a character, place, or feeling is known as Leitmotif. Wagner hated the term opera and preferred to use the term music dramas. Phew, that was a lot, but you're done with this video. Happy studying. I hope you go study the listening examples now. Best of luck. Email me if you have any questions about any of this, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Alright, I'm going to blaze through these questions one by one, so be forewarned that I am going to be moving pretty quickly. Feel free to pause or rewind as much as you need. Quincy Jones was told by Duke Ellington to decategorize American music. Quincy Jones studied with Nadia Boulanger at the Paris Conservatoire and also began writing for jazz songs, but has since created music in every popular genre in America. Thriller was Quincy Jones's highest-selling album of all time. Ella Fitzgerald was homeless for a time before being sent to a reform school following the death of both of her parents. Ella Fitzgerald originally planned on dancing at the amateur night at the Apollo Theater, but was scared off after seeing the Edwards sisters and sang Hoagie Carmichael's Judy instead, her mother's favorite song. Ella Fitzgerald first toured with Chick Webb's band, before taking the band over after his death. Ella Fitzgerald's first big hit was A Tisket a Tasket. Ella Ella Fitzgerald was managed by Norman Granz and encouraged to sing the entire Great American Songbook by him. Louis Armstrong was tutored by Joe King Oliver. Louis Armstrong was the brass band leader for the Colored Waifs Home before leaving to become a professional musician. Robert Johnson was the most influential bluesman from the Mississippi Delta. The story goes that Robert Johnson sold his soul at a Georgia crossroads in order to master his instrument. Robert Johnson was the champion of the Delta Blues. Preachin' Blues was the song that led to the blues being referred to as the devil's music. Robert Johnson coined the bottleneck slide style of playing. Nina Simone's dream was to be the first black person to perform in Carnegie Hall. The 16th Street Baptist Church bombing sparked Simone to write Mississippi Goddam. Nina Simone lived in France for the final years of her life. She brought counterpoint into jazz music. Finally, the only thing you need to know is the path that Mbube took from its original recording to it becoming The Lion Sleeps Tonight. First, it was recorded as Mbube by Solomon Popley Linda and the Evening Birds by Gallo Records and was sold for 10 shillings. From there, ethnomusicologist Alan Lomax brought the song to Pete Seeger, who changed the word Uyi Mbube, meaning I am the lion, to Wimowet. Wimowet was found by the Tokens, who had George David Weiss write English lyrics to the melody and recorded The Lion Sleeps Tonight. The Lion Sleeps Tonight was featured in The Lion King and grossed over $16 million by the time Rian Milan had started investigating the money trap. Whew, that was a lot, but you're done with this video. Happy studying. I hope you go study the listening examples now. Best of luck. Email me if you have any questions about any of this, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.